How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about what I would do if I was like the head of a Nissan developing team in charge of making the Nismo version of this new Nissan Z. But before we get into today's video, definitely be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff down there below. If you're already subscribed, be sure to click that little bell icon down there to actually turn on post notifications to get notified every time that I do post a new video. It does definitely mean a lot as a small YouTuber, but without wasting any more time, getting right into today's video, we're basically just going to be looking at a couple of renders that I'm going to be editing on the screen as I'm talking. And for the first one, we have a couple pictures from Motor Trend here that I'm actually looking at. We have a front end and the rear end of this Nissan Z. It's going to be the only blue renders in this like in these pictures or whatever that I'm going to be editing in, and honestly this is probably the most realistic render that I've seen so far. Yes, it's not like really that much different from the new Z or the new 400Z, whatever you want to call it. But honestly, it really doesn't have to be. The new Performance Z already has those 19-inch raised wheels right from the factory. I know the Sport has like 18-inch alloy wheels that aren't raised and they're a little bit crappier, I guess. But with the raised wheels, like, you don't really need to change that much. I think that this render has different style wheels on it. However, again, with the wheels, I really wouldn't really change if I was Nissan. That also goes for the brakes. I don't think that the Z really needs bigger brakes than what comes on the Performance Zs to begin with, because I think they already come with Brembo brakes to begin with. However, the overall body design, and this is what I'm going to be talking mainly about in this video. There's a few things just all around that I think that this Z really needs. It needs a front lip, it needs side skirts, potentially a different front bumper, a couple vents either on the hood or on the front fenders, which you can kind of see right here, a rear spoiler that is kind of like R35 GTR-esque, and you can actually see, looking at the rear of this render right here, you can see like the little wings on the side plates look very similar to the Nismo R35 GTR. And also I think it needs a splitter. On this one, there's really not splitter, and a couple of other ones that I'm going to show you, they're a little bit too unrealistic with the splitter. I don't think that it should be super aggressive, just like with the front lip. I don't think it should be super aggressive. I just think it should at least be there and serve some sort of function and help with the downforce of the vehicle. Now, as far as mechanical changes are concerned, there's two main things that I would change if I was in charge of making a new Nismo Z. And that is adding horsepower, which I think is pretty obvious to most, and also the suspension. A lot of people have said that when they actually drive this new Z, it is extremely nose heavy compared to the Supra, and it likes to dive a lot in the corners. Now, a lot of people have also said that it accelerates very well, it brakes very well, and it does like turn side to side and handle very well. Although it can be obviously a tad oversteery because it is, you know, a rear-wheel drive car. However, with the Performance Zs coming already with a limited slip differential in the rear, those raised wheels, a little bit better suspension tuning, it honestly, like, it's really good how it is. With the power that it's making, the 400 horsepower, a lot of people have said that that's kind of overrated. People have already raced it up against a new Supra, and it's actually very surprising how close the new Supra is. Now, mind you, I think the higher trim of the Supra, the performance trim or whatever Toyota calls it, it's only like 380 horsepower. So obviously that gap there is only like 20 horsepower, so that's really not that big of a difference. But what I would like to see, the numbers that I would like to see a new Nismo Z push out, would be at least over 430 to make that gap around like a 50 horsepower gap between the higher end Supra. Now, ideally, I would love to have like a 450 or even almost close to 500 horsepower Nismo Z. However, I just don't really think that Nissan can really do that with just retuning the car. I could be wrong, and again, a lot of people don't really know the capabilities that the tuning and the aftermarket and stuff can actually have on this platform yet. However, that would obviously be ideal. I just don't think that that's realistic. I think a realistic goal would be 430, and honestly, ideally would be 450, or in that ballpark at least. Now, staying on the topic of power, obviously horsepower is the high end and torque is the low end. Torque is really what gives the vehicle its balls. It really is what makes it get up and jump. And when it comes to the Nissan Z, it actually has 350 horsepower. So Nissan has very like even numbers, like at 400 and 350 when it comes to this new Z, which honestly seems a little bit fishy to me, because normally when vehicles have factory numbers like that, they're capable of more when you actually put them on a dyno and you have someone hook up a computer to it, excuse me, and tune it. However, I just don't think that anyone's really going to be able to squeeze out that much low-end power out of this platform without doing some modifications with either bigger wastegates, more open exhaust, better downpipes, and potentially even like switching out the throttle body and you know, modifying it and really like going all crazy with bolt-ons, or even just, you know, full on upgrading the turbos and the internals. I still think that it could potentially get up to like around the 370 mark when it comes to torque. But honestly, when it comes to Nismo, like in recent generations with the Z, they haven't really, like, the horsepower and the torque gap between the regular 370s and 350s compared to the Nismo version of those wasn't really that crazy. So I am kind of generous, and you know, you could definitely be skeptical when it comes to these numbers. Again, I'm just throwing everything at a wall and seeing what sticks in my head, and I do think that it would be very realistic though to see a Nismo Z make around 430 horsepower and around 370 foot-pounds of torque. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully it's even more. But honestly, I think that that's very realistic. I think that's potentially me just lowballing it in my head so I won't get disappointed when they actually do come out with a new Nismo Z. But moving on and looking at a couple more renders here, literally just off Google Images. In front of us, we can see basically the probably most popular render, and I actually even used this for one of my thumbnails, I think like last year when I was talking about the possibility of a Nismo Z, but now it is, I believe, confirmed to us. We are going to get a Z for this generation, or a Nismo Z for this generation. It's just a matter of when and how. But with this one, you can see it's a little bit more aggressive on the front end. It has canards, which for a factory car that's a little bit much. I don't think that they should really come with that. And also that wing is pretty aggressive as well. That could kind of be like an aftermarket Z, like that could definitely be a possibility that someone takes their Z and modifies it that way. I just can't see a Nismo Z quite looking like that. This is another thing right here. I wanted to include this render because it does actually have a diffuser, unlike the original one from Motor Trend that we took a look at before. However, that diffuser, it looks like fake. Well, it is fake, but it looks like very fake and way too aggressive at the same time. I can't quite describe it. It's very weird. And the rear end, how the kind of vents come down from the taillights, almost like a Mark V Supra. I really don't think that Nissan should do that, because again, people are going to be seeing the similarities between the Z and the Supra, and they're going to say that Nissan, I don't know, is trying to copy the shape of a Supra rear end, which obviously Nissan should not do at all. Now here is probably the most likely candidate. Again, it looks very similar to what we saw before with this rear end. It actually almost looks identical, besides obviously the Arctic white compared to the metallic blue on the Motor Trend one. You can see like a titanium exhaust. That might also be another like little upgrade that Nissan could throw in. I do know that, I believe for the 370 Nismos, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I believe for the 370 Nismos, Nissan did have a different exhaust right from factory. So that's another possibility, and it could honestly potentially add maybe like a little bit more horsepower. I know that anyone who actually really knows about cars that much, horsepower, like exhaust doesn't really add that much horsepower to the car. Everyone with their like new cars and like new car enthusiasts, the first thing they do is like throw in like a little axle back or like a muffler, and they think that they gain like 20 horsepower. Most of the time, that's really not how that works. Now, this is probably the last render that I really want to talk about today, and this is very interesting. This could potentially be more of like a GT3 or GT4 racing car, or like a Nissan Z Cup car in the future. I hope that Nissan, invests more into motorsports, because when it comes to Europe, I believe like Nissan is completely non-existent. Like I do know that they do like some stuff, and there's Nissan Racing out there, and there's Nissan Racing teams out there in the world. But honestly, let's be honest, like again, I'm a Nissan fan. You could tell by all the posters behind me. They really fell off when it comes to performance, especially in the last decade. But anyways, that's pretty much just gonna be it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think of this format of like more of like just a regular discussion video, not me like looking at articles or anything. Also, and down in the comments, make sure to like list out a couple things that you would like to see on a new Nismo Z in the near future. But definitely be sure to also leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. You guys know what to do. Like always, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. If you enjoyed today's video, click on either of these links right here to watch a similar video from this channel, or click on the little circle link right there to actually subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. I do appreciate all the support, but thank you for sticking to the end of this video, and I hope you have a fantastic day.